Salvation Army couldn't hold me back.
The Bernie Mac tragedy. Here is what the public was told when Bernie Mac passed away in 2008.
To most, he was known as Bernie Mac. Actor, comedian Bernard McCullough died early Saturday morning at Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago. A publicist for the 50-year-old says he passed away from complications due to pneumonia. Mac also suffered from an inflammatory lung disease that had been in remission for the past 3 years. But his publicist said his death was not related to this condition.
Whistleblower Donald Marshall says this is what really happened. One good person there was Bernie Mac, comedian and actor. He tried to stand up for me. Speak up for me, saying it's not right to do these things to a human being. He tried to have others join him in speaking out against the clone torture zone. While he was there, Queen Elizabeth and Philip tortured him so bad he had an aneurysm the next day and died. Now no one will speak up. They're all afraid of suffering the same fate. Let's never forget the true bravery of Bernie Mac. Your death will not be in vain. We will demand justice. The Paul Walker tragedy. When Paul Walker died in a car crash in 2013, many fans and others began to question the official story. Human cloning whistleblower Donald Marshall says he was really killed by the Illuminati for trying to speak out. Here is what Donald Marshall says really happened to Paul Walker.
So I don't quite know how to say this, hoping no one thinks I'm trying to dramatize the situation. But last night, when activated there during REM sleep, I opened my clone eyes and I was sitting in the stands. Paul Walker, a clone of him, out in the arena, tied to the same cross I'd been chained and tied to. 2 people were stabbing and punching him. Everyone had to watch as a deterrent. Scream, scream, scream. A bunch in the crowd crying. I guess some there like him. They wanted me to see it. They want me to mention it. Don't know how long they're going to razz him for. He messed them up somehow a lot. They're pretty pissed. I don't even know what he did. It was very strange last night. They were acting like me seeing it and relating it here would be the starting point to something big. I don't know their motives about it. Megadeth, they weren't getting him as bad as I've seen others getting messed up. They got Chris Benoit way worse. People at cloning seemed to like Paul Walker though. Seemed like they didn't actually want to hurt him. Something about bitcoins and deadly vaccines. Tila has again said as clones she cannot help me. Talked to her there. She was very shaky and shifty-eyed, worried, looked more scared than usual. Probably the Paul Walker death. Very not good. Since Paul Walker's death, the other celebs there have lost their confidence again. I guess Paul Walker was gonna spill the beans hard. He wanted to be the brave one that helped me first. Paul Walker's death and mistreatment is going to slow any other celebs from talking, I assume. Maybe they'll do some uniting thing and all talk at once. I don't know. Some of the celebs are scum, like the money and don't want to be found out. Paul Walker was going to talk, so the Illuminati killed him. They wanted me to see Paul Walker there and to say that I saw him there. Don't know why.
Let's never forget the true bravery of Paul Walker. We must demand answers. How many more good people have to die mysteriously? The Chris Benoit tragedy. In 2007, wrestling superstar Chris Benoit killed himself, his wife and his child in an apparent murder-suicide. No one could understand what would make him do such an act. Many began to question the official story. Human cloning whistleblower Donald Marshall says he witnessed the Illuminati drive Chris Benoit insane.
Someone really brave? Chris Benoit, the WWE wrestler. He was awesome. Was one of the nicest people that I'd ever met there. They've made examples every once in a while. Chris Benoit, the wrestler for the WWE, was one such example. They messed him up badly. Was terrible. He was a really good person. Wouldn't be evil like them. Called them names while there. Said he didn't want to attend. They made an example of him. Was terrible. They put nightmarish stuff on him. They dropped the wheel on him, as they say, an occult term for utterly destroying someone's life until they die. If they have a clone of you, they interrogate you for your passwords. With mind control stuff on the clone and torture, leave the person memory suppressed and they don't know. They just get sick for a while. This is what happened to Chris Benoit's wife and son. They were memory suppressed about it. He remembered everything. They absolutely destroyed him. Can't let that hero die in vain. His true story must be told. Insane Clown Posse had a part in the death. Elizabeth systematically destroyed him, and the clowns helped as much as they could. The fat clown Violent J hated Benoit with a passion, because at the cloning center he was talking to Chris in front of all the celebrities, and conversation came around to the clown saying, "Well, I'm a wrestler athlete like you." Chris Benoit worked very hard to get the body he had and the wrestling techniques. Chris soured his face up and said, "You're not a wrestler." The clown was embarrassed. Chris said, "You're a fat slob. Your parents brought you into it. I had to work hard." The clown cried. Chris wrestled him in the dirt of the cloning center a little bit, made a fool of him. The clown couldn't do anything. After that, he ran afoul of Elizabeth, stole the cloner's wife and had a kid with her. They destroyed him. Gutted him badly, repeatedly, got his wife and kid too, tortured them in front of him. But they were memory suppressed. They got really sick and didn't know why. They tore him bad. This is another reason people don't talk, because of these examples. Elizabeth said first three that talk will die, their families too. Made a big proclamation about it there. He was one of Elizabeth's favorite slaves there, but he would disobey and insult. She made an example out of him. bad, like Bernie Mac, but more prolonged and involving his immediate family and friends. They did that and worse so many times. Everyone is scared to go against them. You have no idea how evil the Chris Benoit song is that the Insane Clown Posse sings. It's Chris's death song. I hate the fat one and his bald brother. There's other ones, I guess, but those are the only two I've ever seen at cloning. I'm telling you, they're going to be imprisoned or legally executed in the end of this. They will know regret. The Chris Benoit song is all about how they dismantled him mentally. He was in a mental ward, or his therapist, saying he's not crazy, that Elizabeth tortures him in another dimension. And there are demons there. He got very religious, not knowing he was a clone, thinking Elizabeth had caged his soul. Almost sounds like Tila Tequila. I'm going to clear Chris Benoit's name. Bunch of people said he was crazy, had too many hits to the head and steroids, but it was cloning and MK Ultra that messed him up. Week before, his best friend, some woman, died of an aneurysm, done by the Illuminuts just to bother him. The woman didn't do anything. She was just a really good friend of his, and they had her cloned and did the aneurysm thing to her. It was terrible. They told him it was another dimension. Chris Benoit was tough as nails. His own discomfort was irrelevant. It's when they brought his wife and child to cloning. That's what finally broke him. He was kinda my hero there for a while. I'm going to fuck those clowns up. I gotta avenge his death and the death of many others, and prevent more.
We cannot let the death of Chris Benoit be in vain. We must demand answers. Our only enemy is fear.